Let's talk about Heihachi's Hellsweep. Today, I just want to share some of my strategies, some of the uses I have for his Hellsweep, because especially in Tekken 7, I would hear people saying that, wow, don't use it, it's quite bad, Heihachi's Hellsweep is terrible, especially if you only do the single hit, the single low like that. And I never agreed with that, so I kept using it, and eventually I developed my way of thinking, my strategies for this move, and I also copied a lot of things that I saw certain high-level players do with Heihachi. So I just want to share all of my thoughts on it. Don't see this as a guide, that's what I'm trying to say. This is just me sitting down and sharing my experience, because this is something that I feel like it's lacking in the FGC quite a bit. Back then, you would often hear different opinions about stuff. A lot of the times they were wrong, but people used to talk more by using their experience rather than just echoing an opinion that sounds reasonable and sounds correct, which is the case of a lot of the times if you go on Discord and ask a question, that's what you're gonna get. People just repeating the same opinion that sounds reasonable, which is not entirely bad, especially when the opinion is actually a good one. But, you know, I kind of miss this type of conversation where it's just people really telling you what they have been going through when using certain buttons, when using certain characters, when dealing with certain matchups. This is pretty fun to me, and that's why I kind of miss the Tekken Zaibatsu forums, because back then in Tekken 7, as I was learning the game, I would go through that forum and read some posts from Tekken 5 DR era, where people would just tell you exactly what they were doing with the characters and the moves. So that was pretty fun. So hopefully I can do the same here with this type of video. So regarding Heihachi's Hellsweep, if you are at a low rank at the moment, let's say red rank and lower than that, it's a good idea to just do the double low sweep as a way to mix people up, because at those ranks, a lot of the times they won't block that at all. They don't know that it's blockable, the second low, that is. But when using it, it's a good idea to do the double low into the while sitting 4 pickup. So just do like that, and then neutral, oops, I messed it up, like this. Because in the case the first low counter hits, this way you don't lose your combo. Because the pickup from this one here can be very nice. Can be a little bit more damage than usual, because you can do the electric afterwards. Like so, oh my god. Sorry for execution. Playing for OBS has some extra input delay, like that. There we go. So you can use the electric as a pickup, and that deals a lot of damage. But if you go for the double low, and the first one counter hits, then you just completely drop it. So that's why I would say it's a good idea to just get used to doing this instead, even though it might be a little bit less damage than the other conversions. However, once you reach certain ranks where people know to block the second low, then the second hit starts to become a lot better. And my reasoning behind using it instead of just forcing the mix up afterwards every time is because the way I apply it is kind of like the same as the electric, but kind of filling the gaps where the electric doesn't, quite work. So let me try to explain it better. In the neutral, what I'm trying to do with the electric as an approach to is to catch my opponent's timing. So I'm trying to press it slightly earlier than they would press a button for a keep out, or on approach as a keep out as well. And also to catch them moving, because that's the plus side of using electric as a counter hit too. It not only will launch the opponent if they press a button at the wrong time, but also it will catch them moving at the wrong time as well. Which is something that, let's say, back 4 is not going to do. Of course, it's going to hit them and deal damage, but it won't give you a full combo. However, the electric has some slight issues. It's not like, oh my god, downplaying electric. No. It's just that's just a fact. It doesn't cover every situation. For example, movements in this game is stronger, and also the tracking of electrics is worse than, let's say, Tekken 7. So it can be the case that they will sidestep this and you will get punished. after they sidestep it. And also, there's the issue where if you block this, rather, if they block it, you don't actually get like the same type of pressure you would get from something like a blocked forward 4, right? It's good because it pushes them towards the wall, and you are in a situation where you can just apply your mid-range game, but it's not the same unless you're already at the wall where you can use those +5 frames for real. So the Hellsweep covers kind of these issues. The first one is that this tracks a lot better than the electric. It's more likely to catch people trying to, sidestep and press a button, which is nice. And also, the plus frame situation is a little bit better because they stay quite close to. So depending on the distance you do it from, then those +8 frames can be used for pressure. You just have to be careful about using this from like tip range, because one of the basic flowcharts that is kind of nice to use is this into this, because even if it trades, you get a full combo. It's only going to trade with something like a jab or a crouching jab, which is not going to knock you down, so you still get the combo afterwards. So if you do this from tip range, this flowchart, look at what happens when they backdash. So I try to be aware of that when I use this button, but sometimes I mess it up and I still whiff like an idiot. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. But when you do it from up close, you can do a lot more buttons because backdash is not gonna make them these buttons whiff, right? Which is nice. So that's how I see the single hit of the Hellsweep. Like, even though it doesn't do a lot of damage by itself, it is still like a way to fish for counter hits. It's just not, don't see it like Victor's down back 4 or Lars, because it doesn't high crush, right? So you still have this issue. If they go for a quick power crush that is a high or even a jab, it's likely that you're gonna get hits out of it. So that's why you have to play around timing with it, just as you would with electrics. Now, is there any use for the follow-ups at a higher level? Definitely. But let's say this into this here. In theory, people can block this on reaction, because if they are patient, they can just hold back and see if you do the spinning animation rather than the wall standing 4. Because both of these follow-ups are going to be like 28 frames. So this one is 24 frames. And this one is also 24 in this situation. So it gives you enough time to be able to recognize if he's going to spin or do the wall standing 4. That's the quote-unquote the reason why you shouldn't be relying on this as a mix-up. But in reality, in ranked especially, people are not going to be looking for it and blocking it 100% of the time. But my philosophy is that I don't want to be using something to the point where I rely on it so much when I know there's a certain counterplay to it. Because if I face someone that can actually do that, then I will feel disarmed. I will feel like I don't have any strong strategy anymore. So if I'm playing with the idea that the opponents may know that already, then it allows me to come up with more solid strategies. But anyways, this is not to say that this is not useful. You can do it from time to time. And something that I started to notice from watching like old gameplay of players from Tekken 5 and Tekken 6 is that you can just use the, oh my god, I keep messing up the input, so there we go. You can still use this for the block situation. Like, even though it might not hit them, -3 is a situation that is pretty good for you to use it offensively with sidestep to make them whiff, make the retaliation whiff, backdash sometimes, depending on the range again. If you do this from kind of far, it creates enough space for you to do a backdash afterwards and make them whiff. And I'm thinking that this might be a very good idea in Tekken 8, because we kind of lost the situation we had with down forward 1 and 1-1. They are worst on block, -5. But the biggest problem is that they took away the pushback that these pokes used to have on block. Down forward 1 was super nice, because if you did down forward 1 into backdash, there were so many buttons that would whiff because of the spacing. So they will try to, keep you away with certain humming attacks, pokes, magic force. All of those buttons would whiff, forcing them to either dash in or do an attack that has more range. But yeah, that's gone. And that's why I'm thinking about using this follow-up a little bit more in the future, just to be able to create similar situations like that, which is pretty nice. Now, there's one use for the follow-up as well for Okizeme, which is pretty interesting. Because sometimes when I do a wall combo, it's very likely that people are going to stay on the ground. Because heat smash is like way too much. They don't want to attack because they know that the moment I see them getting up, I'm going to throw this out. And if they block it, they're still in a really annoying situation to deal with. So, noticing that a lot of people stay on the ground, I've been thinking about using Hellsweep as a way to hit them off of it. And I noticed that if I hit them with the double low into the wall 74, I get a little pickup. So let me see if I can show you this here. There we go. Like that. You get a 1+2 afterwards, which is pretty nice. In theory, they can backdash away after the first hit, right? But that's not what happens a lot of the time. So, like that. So it's not guaranteed. But it's kind of like Reina. If you watched one of my very old Reina videos about her, attack and whatnot, I explained that doing the double low against people on the ground was very nice because there was a chance that you will hit them twice, and then the second low for her would even break walls and interact with wall blasts and stuff like that. So I guess that's the equivalent tech for Heihachi. If you think that they are likely going to stay on the ground, but you want to do the low anyways, so do this into the wall 74, because then you get a chance to pick them up for a guaranteed 1+2. Kind of like a wall combo, right? I don't think there's a way to tornado afterwards, which is a shame, but this is already super good because this is 25 damage there, but it doesn't count the first hit, which is 12 damage, so 37 in total. So that's very nice. And in the open, sometimes you can do it as well, because I've seen this pick up sometimes. I don't know exactly what makes it happen, that the wall 74 ends up picking them up and you get a full combo. But it has happened before. Maybe I'm hitting them out of a toe kick. That might be the reason. So yeah, there's uses for the follow-up, but I feel like they're more useful in these situations rather than the neutral. But yeah, there we go. These are the strategies that I have. Is there anything that I'm missing? Oh yeah, I'm missing one of the most important parts that I wanted to talk about, which is the idea of using the single Hellsweep to condition the opponent and also create comebacks. This is something that I copied from watching Need back in Tekken 7. He was doing this against Dottering, and he was doing this into nothing, this into nothing. It was super annoying. And eventually, he baited out Dottering into doing Giga's shoulder attack while standing shoulder. And then he whiff punched with 442, which is super sick. So that's the idea. Even though it's +8, if you're annoying the opponents with this, you can either make them eventually duck, or you can make them take a shot at interrupting you, because you're kind of overextending doing this into this again, right? You're wasting a lot of your frames. It's not like this is a frame trap. So eventually they might feel the need to stop you from doing that and annoying them. And that's where you find an opportunity for a whiff punish. And if you can get an electric in this situation, it's even better, because it's going to be a lot of damage. And it's more reliable than 442, because 442 is quite slow, right? Depending on what they whiff, you might not be able to punish with 442. But even then, you can still do something like Iron Palm, which is nice. It enters heat, it might be able to heal you in a situation where you need a comeback. So that's very nice as well. And also, people might start to duck instead of pressing a button. So it's a matter of what information you already have from the opponents by doing this situation here and there in the neutral. That is going to give you the best strategy regarding this low and how to approach. You get the drill, right? So that's one of the uses for it. But also, if people know that they can duck the second hit, but you're never using it, eventually they will stop ducking it and trying to move around, backdash away, sidestep, and even pressed to not allow you to, annoy them like that. And because of that, they get conditioned to not even expect the low. And eventually you might do it in the middle of the game. I just don't advise doing it when you're very low on health, because it becomes kind of obvious, right? You're low on health, they have a huge life lead, so it's likely that you're going to do the double low to get a combo and turn the game around. But if you do it like when both of you are not exactly at lethal range and no one has an actual life lead, this is a good way to get that double low to eventually hit on people that know about it. That's the idea. So that's why I would use this low, the single hits from time to time. There's like so many strategies that I learned to use with it that is super nice. So yeah, that's the vision, that's the talk. Hopefully this was interesting. And again, this is not a guide. This is just me sharing my experience. So hopefully some of what I said might be of use for you. And maybe I change my mind in the future. So if you have other strategies, other ways you think about this move, just share it in the comment section, and because I would love to hear it as well. That's something that I feel like is lacking in the FGC. Not just stacking, a lot of games, just sharing thoughts and stuff like that. So see you next time.